Blog Talk Radio.
It's time for ASWIFTT Radio broadcast with Brenda, Padgitt, Eunice Bridges, and Glenda Fields. Sit back and relax with ASWIFTT Radio.
Good afternoon, and welcome to today's show, The American Dream Turned Upside Down. This is Brenda Johnson Padgitt, your host here on ASWIFTT Radio. Today on our show, I am joined by author William Hazelgrove, who wrote the book Rocket Man. The book is a satire about the American dream turned upside down. Hazelgrove takes you into the life of a middle-class family who experiences the American dream disappointment. With the downturn in the mortgage industry coupled with the recession, readers can relate to the middle-class family in Rocket Man. Hazelgrove uses humor in the family experiences and personal setbacks of his main character, Dale Hammer. William Hazelgrove, welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, William, before we discuss your book, I understand that your book, Rocket Man, was written in the attic of Ernest Hemingway, who wrote A Farewell to Arms in 1929, For Whom the Bell Tolls in 1940, and The Old Man and the Sea in 1952. Hemingway also won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. William, tell us about your experience of writing your book, Rocket Man, in Ernest Hemingway's attic, and how did you come about that opportunity?
Really what happened was I had a baby in the house, and I had a second novel I had to complete, and I just took a walk down the street where Hemingway's birthplace was, and I saw a sign for some tours, and I went in there, and they gave me a tour of the house, and I ended up asking where that door goes to, and they said it went up to the attic, and I asked her if anybody could ever go up there, and she said no, and so I told her that I was a novelist, and she said they would take my books and evaluate them, and I really forgot all about it and didn't think anything would come of it. And then they gave me a call and said that, I could use the attic to write in. And that's really how it started. And, I completed several novels up there, and then one of them was Rocket Man.
Oh, okay. That's great. Okay, now, William, why did you decide to write a novel about the American dream turned upside down? And also, what does that mean?
Well, when I first started, I think Rocket Man, I felt like I looked around in my own neighborhood, and I saw a lot of people who really were having trouble making it. It looked like they were just working all the time, not really having much quality of life. And at the same time, I had moved out of close to the city and further out into the suburbs. So I wanted to kind of get my arms around the whole suburban experience of what it means to make it in the American dream, that sort of classic dream we were all brought up with, where you own a home and have some quality of life. And what I really saw was people weren't starting to make it. This was probably right around 2008, right about the time of the crash. And so I started with this character, Dale Hammer, who is sort of an everyman for people who try and make it, get this American dream of owning a home and 2.5 kids and suburban lifestyle. And I started with him, and the Rocket Man refers to he becomes the Rocket Man for his son's scout troop, where he actually blasts the rockets off. And so I use that sort of motif of rockets going up, and some make it, some don't, some blow up right there on the launch pad, some drift away. And that's sort of how I started with the book. It's a very, as you know, it's a very voice-driven, first-person narration of this sort of happened to me, and I think that pulls the readers in as well.
Okay, that's great. Okay, now, William, when I read your quote, it says the American dream was always based on going forward, on trying to get a bigger house, a better job, a better car, always more and more money, more expenses. I immediately defined it as materialism and greed. Could you explain your intended message in that quote?
Well, I think that people always think of the American dream as cultural, or rather monetary. That people are going to live this sort of super life, this life of unbelievable riches, some of this life that television has given us, and it's just not real. Really, what I really see the American dream is one of a quality of life, of being able to have a community we're all part of having a sort of lifestyle where we aren't always working, we aren't always worried about losing our jobs, losing our house, ending up on the street. And so I really sort of want to explore what the American dream really meant. And my thesis is that it's not monetary, that the real American dream that we were all sort of brought up on is not to be a millionaire, really, although that's how it's painted to us now. But really it's to come home, spend some time with your kids, know that you're going to be able to have a job, keep your house, and that life will continue on. And I think that's the American dream that's been lost now. I think people are so uncertain. They're so afraid now of what's going to happen to them that we've become sort of desperate almost. We've sort of become this, and this refers to the upside-down American dream, which where, literally our homes are upside down now, where 1 in 4 mortgages are, people owe more than they're worth. 10 million people are looking to walk out of their homes now. This is a new development. I mean, when you think about it, historically, the American dream was one of always bigger is better. I want more. Now, I would argue that the American dream has become, I want to downsize. I want to get something smaller. I mean, that's a real change. How many times do you talk to somebody and they talk about trying to sell their home and get into something smaller? So that's a fundamental shift at the way we look at things. No longer are we saying, I want more, but really, I want less, which is interesting.
Right, and that is interesting. Okay, now, William, in your book, Rocket Man, tell us more about the main character, Dale Hammer. I know you said he lost something. Now he's trying to regain it. Can you tell us more about Dale Hammer?
Sure. He's really a guy who his job is in danger. He can't really pay his mortgage. His marriage is going on the rocks. So what I really want to do is sort of take an everyman, and his father's come to live with him over his garage, who just got thrown out of his house. So it's sort of that classic perfect storm that you now have with a lot of people, where they're having to take care of their parents, they're having to try and raise their family, yet at the same time, these are becoming more impossible things. A guy like Dale is really having a hard time doing all these things at once. And so he is a guy who's looking for meaning now. He's really, he feels like there's something missing in his life. And so he's looking for that meaning. And it really, the book covers 1 week in his life where at the end he's going to blast these rockets off. And really what it becomes for him is a day of redemption. It's going to be the one thing he can do right is to blast off all these rockets for the scout troop. And because everybody thinks he's going to screw that up as well. And so, I think Dale is us. He's us in all the craziness of our lives. And then, he's sort of us too when we always say, well, what if? Well, what if I lost my job? What if I lost my house? What if it all came tumbling down? And that's what Dale experiences, is that basically his life implodes. But, as I said, there's something back there in the past that he goes back to that really saves him. And again, I would say, there's a movie, I don't know if you know it, called A Christmas Story. You ever seen that movie? It's, a kid with there's a kid with a BB gun. Well, anyway, there's a final scene, and in it, The camera pulls back, and you see a little house on the street with the snow coming down, and this couple sitting in the window looking at the Christmas tree. And the main character, Dale, says at the end of the novel, that's what I wanted. Just a house in a middle-class neighborhood, safe and warm, asleep in middle-class slumber, knowing that the next day will be much like the last day. And I think for a lot of people, again, they would trade, riches for that kind of security now.
Right, and I think you're absolutely right on that. I just want to pose a question just to the audience, and you also can respond to this as well, Williams. But I want to ask, is owning a big house, a new car in the garage, up-to-date electronics, household appliances, frequent family vacations, clothes, money, and all the material things you can have really the American dream? And what should be the American dream? William, can you elaborate on that for me? Then I'm going to also give you what I think it should be.
Oh, sure. I don't think it's those things. I think the big thing that happens too, I did this. I moved down to the suburbs and bought a large home and everything. And what you find out is, oh, wow, it was just like my small home, only a little bigger. Or you get a nice car. Oh, it's just like my other car. I still go from point A to point B, and yeah, maybe it's a little nicer, but so what? I think the materialism that is, been attached to this idea of an American dream, and again, television exports this to us, tells us this will make you happy, is really just not true. The things that make people happy is time to spend with their children, time to enjoy life, maybe have a vacation, not get home so late that you're exhausted that you fall into bed and then have to get up again in the morning and do it all over again. So I think it's a quality of life. Again, the American dream is really cultural. It's a way of living, not a pinnacle of material success. They did a study where they took a guy who made $100,000, they took another guy who made $200,000, and they found the guy who made $100,000 was happier than the guy who made $200,000, and that's because the quality of life did not change for the guy who made $200,000. In fact, his was worse because he had to work so much harder to make that. And maybe he went out to dinner a few more times or took an extra vacation, but there was no real difference. But again, they found that his quality of life was much less than the guy who made $100,000. So I would say it's much more than just material possessions.
Okay, right. Now, my response, the American dream, in my opinion, should be what each and every man defines for him or herself or for his or her family. The American dream for each individual should be obtainable and it should be affordable. The American dream should not force you to live above your means. It also should not be mixed with greed, materialism, or ill-gotten gain. Unfortunately, the American dream should be the plan that God has preordained for your life. Praying and talking to the Father is how you can find out the individual plan He has for your life. Now, with that being said, it is now 13 minutes past the hour, time for a commercial break. I'm Brenda Johnson Padgitt here on ASWIFTT Radio.
ASWIFTT Writer's Guild is for those who have the talent to put pen or brush to paper to create a unique and valuable piece of work. ASWIFTT is always looking for new talents to enhance the literary, visual, and performing arts. For more information on how you can become a member of ASWIFTT Writers Guild, visit www.aswiftttwritersguild.com or call 1-866-302-0508. ASWIFTT Radio, bringing you the best in radio, keeping you informed, and highlighting your day with Brenda Padgitt, Eunice Bridges, and Glenda Fields on ASWIFTT Radio. Ambassadors sent with information for this time. Tune in online to ASWIFTT Radio here at www.blogtalkradio.com/ASWIFTT Radio. Call us anytime off air at 1-866-302-0508, extension 3060. ASWIFTT Radio. Do you want to become a published author? Try ASWIFTT Publishing. We are an independent publishing company that writes and publishes content, audio, and video for print and broadcast media genres such as books, newspapers, magazines, radio, television, and the internet. We also design book covers and offer complete packages to help writers become published authors. Call us at 1-800-775-2708. You can also visit us online at www.aswiftttpublishing.com or email us at books@aswiftttpublishing.com for more information.
Welcome back to The American Dream Turned Upside Down here on ASWIFTT Radio. I'm Brenda Johnson Padgitt, your host, along with author William Hazelgrove, who wrote Rocket Man. We are discussing the book Rocket Man and how it reflects what has happened in today's society. The book is a satire and gives humor to real and serious events that take place in the life of Dale Hammer, who is the protagonist in the story. We left off talking with Mr. Hazelgrove about the American dream and what the American dream should be for each individual, defined for him or herself. We will now continue with our discussion about the book Rocket Man. Now, William, can you elaborate on the quote I read? It said, "I lived it. I bought a big house, moved into a neighborhood I had no business being in, and found myself with the rest of the country upside down and unable to move. I really looked around and realized that the American dream had become this smoke and mirrors game for many people. There was no way to hit it unless you really made unbelievable money." Can you elaborate on that?
Like I said, basically we were living in the city area of Chicago and sold the house for, at the top of the bubble, so made a lot of money on it. And then we, as you know, when you move further out, you can get more house, so we moved further out and ended up in a larger home. And, of course, the mortgage was larger. And, I think a lot of people did that, where you kept thinking, well, these houses are just going to go up in value. And, of course, it stopped in 2008. And they did a reverse. They started going down in value. So suddenly, everybody now is stuck with the stuff of the boom. Everybody got a bailout except the middle class. The middle class was pretty much left on their own. The banks got bailed out, the insurance companies, but the middle class was told, okay, keep paying your mortgage. Now, if you're really $100,000 upside down on your mortgage, why would you keep paying on that? Yet that's what we're all expected to do. We have high taxes. In the Chicagoland area, we have very high taxes. And again, you found yourself in an untenable situation of, where your house has lost its value. You've got a high mortgage, high taxes, and your income's dropped because, tough times came. And so I think, I faced, like a lot of people faced, that this is not sustainable, that, this is not going to work. And, of course, a lot of people, again, in the Chicagoland area, lost their homes and are still losing their homes. Middle-class people, not, people who, were poor people, but middle-class people are, have been losing their homes for a long time. So, so what do we have left over now? In the year 2013, you still have a lot of people living in homes that are worth less. As a matter of fact, I'd say 50% of the people live in homes that are worth less than they owe. So you can't do anything with them. Literally, people are stuck now. It's a new phenomenon in America. Americans always define themselves as being mobile. Well, for the first time, people can't move. They can't even get divorced because, you sell a house when you get divorced. So, again, people are stagnant. They're stagnant in their jobs. They're stagnant in their homes. They're stagnant in their lives. It's sort of a freeze frame, and it's kept people in place. This is very much what happened in the Great Depression. People lost 10 years of their lives because nothing happened during the Great Depression. Everything was, you either, went down to the bottom and ended up riding the rails on the trains and being in the street, or you just barely hung on and survived through it. And then, of course, World War II broke out. So, yeah, I think when I moved out here, I found what everybody else found out was that I wasn't rich. I think it was a big shock to the American middle class at 2008 was we are not rich. We shouldn't be driving, expensive cars, $40,000 to $50,000 cars. We shouldn't be living in $400,000, $500,000 homes. These really weren't set up for people with middle-class incomes. It's interesting. Even rich people don't really get monster homes a lot of times. They're pretty frugal with their money. So, I think I experienced, sort of this rise and fall that a lot of people went through.
Wow, that's interesting, and I'm glad you were able to share that. Now, William, in your book, Rocket Man, I see that you took the character Dale Hammer to symbolize what many are experiencing in this economy. Now, what do you expect your readers to learn from Dale Hammer and his experiences?
Well, I think that first of all, it's a very funny novel. Rocket Man, it's an extremely funny novel. I mean, we've been talking about very serious subjects, but it's satire. And because I wanted to handle this stuff in a way that would be entertaining and people could sort of laugh through the misery of it. So I think one big thing that the character finds out is that, one, the world doesn't fall apart when hard times come. Two, you can find humor in things. And three, you can come up with your own bailout plan. There is something you can do, and not to ruin the book for people, but Dale ends up short-selling his house and moving back to the city, back to a more realistic life as he sees it. And I think that's, again, goes to my motif of we're in a period of people moving backwards, trying to find what it is that really makes them happy. And, I think for Dale, that's what it is. So I think, if the takeaway for people reading it would be one of, there are other people who are going through this. Two, the world's not going down. And three, there is something I can do about it. So I think as long as you're doing something, then you aren't helpless. And I think that's probably been the biggest thing in the last 5-6 years is people just feel helpless, like they're just in this whirlwind that's just taking them along. And but there are things they can do.
Okay, great. Now, last question. William, do you think the American dream that was advertised to us over the years and promoted, do you think it can truly be obtained, and why or why not?
I think that it is not obtainable. I think we always hear about the 1% in this country, and that really when you dig into it, it's like 0.5% of 1%. I mean, when you define being rich, it means you do not have to work and you can still have a decent lifestyle. You can still go on vacation. There's very few people that can do that. The American dream has been painted as one of, having this great life, great cars, great house, vacations. Well, this requires an enormous amount of money. In the Chicagoland area, you can make $150,000 and still just be barely hanging on. It's because the price of our houses are high, our taxes are high, living's high, groceries are high. No, I don't think that the way it's painted is obtainable. I think you can have a decent life. I think you can buy a modest home and, have a car that you can afford and live within your limits, and I think you can have a decent life. But it won't be this super life that's painted on every single show we see, most of the movies we see, the advertising that comes out to us. I look around, I see people with, older cars, their clothes aren't always so new. They're tired, they're working harder for less money. This is more the way we live. The telegenic world is a total fantasy now. It's an extremely rarefied fantasy that's, it probably does a lot of people a disservice because it paints a world that's just not there for them, for most people. And like I said, the few people who are independently wealthy, well, you know what? They work all the time too. So maybe that's kind of part of the game. If you really want to be rich, you got to work all the time. So
right. Okay. Well, William, I appreciate your honest response on that. And also, can you give our listeners your contact information and also information on any events that you have coming up?
Yeah, I'd love to. First of all, my website is williamhazelgrove.com or rocketman.com, or you can even put in Upside Down American Dream. I do have a new book coming out as well in September called The Pitcher, about a Mexican-American boy with a golden arm and an old broken-down World Series pitcher who coaches him, a lot like The Natural. That'll be out in September, so if you're a big baseball fan, you can get that book as well. Just in terms of getting hold of me, again, the best way you can get me through email is williamhazelgrove.com, and again, you can put in Rocketman novel, The Pitcher novel, Upside Down American Dream. That's an easy way to get to me, and you all come to my site.
Okay, thank you, William. Okay, during this last segment of the show, I will give you, our listening audience, time to call in to express your thoughts and ask questions. Our call-in number is area code 347-633-9633. While you are contemplating your thoughts, here is Be Blessed by Yolanda Adams.
Too many storms have passed your way, and you're all washed out 'cause it rained on your parade. Seems nobody cares about you anyway. Now you're living your life like a castaway. Search for strength inside. Was it all in vain? 'Cause the deeper you dig, you find more and more pain. Don't let your tomorrow be like yesterday, 'cause I spoke to God, I called out your name, and on your behalf, I just asked if He would be there for you. I want you to be blessed. Don't live life in distress. Just let go, let God. He'll work it out for you. Never have to live a lie, never have to wonder why, never want for nothing. You're always satisfied in the peace that His arms will provide. He will erase any guilt or shame, any bad habits you got. You won't want to do them again. Yes, we all can change. I can testify. See, I spoke to God. I called out your name. And on your behalf, I just asked if He would be there for you. I want you to be blessed. blessed. Oh, be blessed. He can change your situation in a minute. Just be blessed. Don't do anything that God would not have you to do. Be blessed. I know it ain't what you want right now, but it sure could be a lot worse. Just be blessed. Let him do a work in you. Hey, be blessed. Be blessed.
Welcome back to ASWIFTT Radio. Our show has now come to a close. If you still have questions concerning the information presented, you can email us at ASWIFTT Radio. Also, I hope you enjoyed listening to The American Dream Turned Upside Down. Continue to check www.aswiftradio.com for upcoming shows, or you can call us direct at 1-800-775-2708, extension 3060. You can also email us at news@aswiftradio.com to give us your feedback on the show. Thank you for tuning in and listening to our show. This is Brenda Johnson Padgitt here on ASWIFTT Radio.